I feel like I can say definitely that something has happened with modern video games, and I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's that I've gotten older. Maybe I've gotten to the point where I've played everything, every genre, nothing's new. But I don't think that's it. I think that there's a real push to take gamers for granted. The fact that games come out incomplete, or that stories are just ridiculous, or gameplay isn't really gameplay, there's no innovation. I think that's a much bigger issue going on than me being older and maybe just being tired of playing video games. I have noticed this crazy push for photorealism, this idea that if graphics are cutting edge, then that means the game has to be good. And I feel like that's detrimental to the overall experience because it's really not about graphics at all when it comes to video games. Sure, things looking good are important, but when you take actual games that think about the players, that give them things to do, that design a game to give you, the player, more choice in what you do and craft that around an experience, that's lost. I haven't seen that in a long time. Here I am playing Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and I think this is a great example of what's been lost. It feels like for me too often I see an announcement for a new game, I get excited about it, and they usually only talk about graphics, ray tracing, frame rate, or they show screenshots, or if you're lucky, a gameplay snippet, in-engine cutscene of the game. And you're supposed to get excited about it because it looks great. But when I play these games, too often they're just really, really formulaic. Point A to point B to point C, cutscene, move on to a next level or a next stage or something like that. And I feel like the opportunity to give me or you out there something really engaging is just lost. And I'm not sure if it's lost or if it's intentional. But when you take something like Deus Ex Mankind Divided, each level here, there are so many different ways to play this game. They take into account you, the gamer. They give you things to see, things to do. They're not just giving you all these gadgets to say, look at all the gadgets you have. Each individual piece of equipment that you have has at least 4 to 5 gameplay elements baked into these semi-open world environments. This push for this huge open world with nothing really to do in it has detracted from my enjoyment of games. And I'm wondering to myself as I go through this game and play it, what happened? Why did things like this get discarded in favor of what we have now? I think one of the things that contributed to this is this everything is subjective gaming media with their review scores. The idea that every single game could be a great game to somebody else, and somehow that factors in to the objective reviewing of it is baffling to me. I'm not one of these people that believes everything is subjective because that means there's no objective standard to judge anything. And if that's the case, then what's the point of anything? So again, let's head back to Deus Ex Mankind Divided and compare it to anything that released, say, within this last year, big game-wise for the real consoles, PlayStation and Xbox. I don't find anything that gives me the amount of meat on the bone that games like this gave me 9 or 10 years ago. In fact, I would have to go back to, say, games like BioShock, that series where a developer actually thought about you moving through an environment, not just traversing through, forging straight ahead, listening to a story, maybe having 1 or 2 things to do gameplay-wise, but thinking about the idea that instead of going straight, you might want to go vertically. You might want to go underneath of the level. You might want to go left, right. You might want to do things that are completely off the beaten trail and design a game around that level of interactivity. It doesn't have to be large and open to be engaging and to give you things to do that motivate you to further yourself in the story, to become engaged in it in a way that you don't by simply just looking at something pretty, pressing up on a stick to walk straight ahead, and triggering a cutscene. As I was playing this game, it's almost like I had to relearn what the idea was of playing a video game 10 years ago. I had all of these gadgets, but I also had a multitude of different ways to use them in the environment. I had to study. I had to plan my way through. I had to mark a target, listen to a target, scan the environment, figure out if I could break through a wall or if I can go through a vent, figure out if I could listen in on a clue to get me through the level without interacting with any of the enemies, or I could use the offensive capabilities in the way that I wanted to. This is the core of what it means to design a game for a gamer, not just for somebody who's looking for something pretty to look at. And by the way, tell me, what games have come out recently that look better than this? Of course, there's some that look better than this. This is a 10-year-old game, but I'm looking at this game, I'm playing this game, I'm engaging with everything that they give me to do in this game, and I'm thinking to myself, the game still looks incredible even today. So why? Why have we gone backwards instead of forwards when it comes to these great big AAA games and what they give us to do in them? This is probably the point in the video where most people are going to disagree with me, but I find it interesting that every single Twitch-based forever shooter game where you hop online, you run around with friends, you do exactly the same thing. Maybe they introduce something called Omni Movement to make it new, and that's the advancement in terms of gameplay. But all of these games have dumbed down what gamers expect in a video game. Take a look at these games that release, and the single player portion of them that used to be really good are just sort of tacked on because they know you don't care, or there's an audience that just doesn't care. They want to run around and do the exact same thing they did with the game that was hot 5 years ago. Now, I'm not saying multiplayer shouldn't exist, but what innovations are born out of multiplayer when it comes to giving a gamer something that they're going to remember? Gameplay. You don't get those advancements in a multiplayer match. You get them by designing a game around a core idea and giving a gamer actually things to do different, actual choices, a multitude of different things to do, see, and experience in a video game, in a single player portion of the game. That's what drives the advancement for me and to many other people when it comes to actual gameplay and things that you're going to remember. This is why upcoming games like Judas from Ken Levine, one of the people who worked on the original BioShock, to me is much, much more exciting, and the anticipation for it is much greater than almost anything that I can think of. It's about giving gamers something to actually do, giving them choice, allowing them to think their way through a level rather than be funneled through it to the next really gorgeous AAA quality 4K ray-traced cutscene. It's really interesting that a feature like backwards compatibility is so important today, because not only does it allow you to play games that you might have already purchased physically or digitally, but it's a stark reminder of how much has been lost when it comes to games and the way that they were designed for you to play. So let me know what you think about this video in the comments section below. Do you think that there's something missing from modern games? Do you think that they've taken advantage of the idea that they think most gamers don't want to think anymore when they play a video game? There's still some games coming that are exciting, like the aforementioned Judas from Ken Levine, but I do feel like we've lost quite a bit, and hopefully, maybe at some point in time, we circle back around to games like Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. Thanks for watching the video. Think about liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.